Welcome back to P3. Since speaking out against Islamic terrorism, Dr. Tawfik Hamid has spoken around the world to both media and different government agencies. Hamid is a medical doctor with a specialty in internal medicine and has a master's degree in cognitive psychology and educational techniques. He is credited with a new learning technique that's currently being used for both medical and children's education. Hamid is a senior fellow and chair for the study of Islamic radicalism at the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies in Washington, D.C. Here's part 2 of my interview with Dr. Tawfik Hamid, taped at the Israeli Presidential Conference in Jerusalem. Is the radical jihadist movement a religious problem, or is it a political situation? How do you change that if it is a religious problem?
Mainly a religious problem. And the evidence for this is that the political situation in many of these countries is the same for Christians and non-Muslims as well. So why only Muslims become radicalized in this way? If the cause of suicide bombing, for example, was lack of democracy or poverty or any political reason, why young Christians or Hindus or other faiths do not contribute to the same extent to the problem? So the problem is deeply ingredient in some concepts of violence that we learn as fundamental to the teaching. How to change it?
Right.
That is the $1 million question here.
Yeah, because you got young children being taught in Pakistan and other places, reading the Quran in very particular ways that lead to violence. How do you change that?
You change this by creating a war at the mind level, not just military level. Plus the military part, we need a war here, war of ideas. I'll give you an example. When I was young, I was reading in the Quran a verse that says فَاقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُم, which means kill the infidels wherever you find them. And I questioned the verse. How come God asked me, while there are many peaceful verses also, how come he asked me to fight, to kill? Shall I kill my neighbor because she's a Christian, for example? I couldn't take it. I went to a radical. He gave me theological answer. I went to Sufi scholar. He was kind man. He said to me, be good to every human being, but he didn't give me a theological answer. And I went to secular people. They don't use the language of religion, basically. So I was in real trouble. Later on, I realized that all, and I mean it literally, all the violent verses in the Quran use the expression al-kafirin or al-ladhina kafaru, which means the infidels, not now.
The infidels.
It's exactly like I live in Washington, D.C. Okay, if I said to you, I'm going to a White House, any white, but if I said to you, I'm going to the White
it's very
House,
particular.
It's very particular. So all the violent verses in the Quran can be read in a historical context if this al or the was taken care of.
So, but that's you speaking. There's so many other Quranic scholars that would say, no, you're wrong. How do you change that?
This needs some continuous form of criticism for the radical and violent teaching. So you shouldn't stop in the West criticizing radical ilm, which I put them in what I call ABC's test for radical Islam.
ABC test?
ABC test.
Okay,
A, B, C, D, F, G. A, apostate killing. Convert, the one who convert, killing the convert.
If you're killing a person who changes religion,
they will kill another one later on. So the concept of respecting life here. B, barbaric treatment of women, such as polygamy and beating women and stoning, all creates a sort of violent mind that can accept radicalism later on. C, calling Jews pigs and monkeys. D, declaring wars on non-Muslims to spread Islam. E, enslavement of other human beings, like what's happening in Darfur and other parts of the Islamic world. F, fighting Jews before end days and killing all of them, which is the main obstacle to having peace in the Middle East here. And G, gay killing. So I put it just because without having parameters for the phenomena of radical Islam, we are losing this war. You can't go and treat cancer without defining certain criteria for cancer.
So you're saying, I figured, here's a way that you can easily understand when these things are present, you've got an absolute ready soil for radical Islam.
Absolutely, and the same, you can use this to evaluate any group in the West. If some group said we are moderates, okay, You are a moderate, denounce these abuses. But don't tell. One day I was speaking in Michigan, and an imam from Senegal interrupted me and said to me, why, Dr. Hamid, you mentioned these radical things? I'm a peaceful imam, I have many Jewish friends, and what's the problem with that? I said to him, look, imam, instead of giving us a lecture on how peaceful you are, would you mind to prove this to me and to the audience, imam? And the imam was silent. I said to him, would you mind, imam, to invite me and some of our Jewish brothers and sisters and friends here to your next Friday prayer in your mosque, and stand in front of your audience and say to them in the mosque, openly, loudly, and unambiguously, that Jews are not pigs and monkeys? Would you mind to do this, imam?
What did he say?
Nothing. He returned back to his seat. Everyone applauded. Whoa. So that is here the test. You cannot just let it to be vague expressions, relative expressions, moderate and radical. What is moderate and radical? We have to set definition for this.
I want to see how you treat women. I want to know how you interact with someone who's gay.
Absolutely. Will you accept this or not? Just, and don't give a third option, yes or no. That is the type of answers you should be expecting from someone. If I am truly moderate, I shouldn't hesitate to tell you beating women is absolutely wrong. And this can be help. You talked about the issue of solving the problem. Shall I just talk about some educational dimension?
Well, I mean, you talked. I have one more question about this. We are here in Israel, here at this wonderful conference. Do you think there's hope for a solution between Israel and the Palestinians? What do you think is the answer there?
Yes, there is a hope, but as long as we are using correct strategy to achieve this hope.
Okay.
Hope is just a word without specific strategic steps that uses specific tactics to make this hope a reality.
What are the tactics that are needed?
The tactics are, you have to work at the whole phenomena of radical Islam at different levels, from the ideological level through education and reformation, encouraging this, to the hijab phenomena that I believe in my book you'll find how hijab aggravates radical Islam.
So you're talking about an educational model.
Absolutely. Brainwashing tactics also. You can counterbalance this through the media and other. Also, you need to give the radicals a sense of defeat. You cannot change your enemy without making them feel defeated. So you need to know how to bring this level of the psychological defeat via military and non-military components as well. So you need a multifaceted strategy to deal with the phenomena.
One last question. I know that you are really passionate about the idea of education. This new, you said something, what was the statement? I have an educational model that's going to change the world. What's the statement?
Yes.
Is that the statement?
Absolutely.
What is the statement?
I have an educational model to teach young Muslims that can change the future of our world.
In a nutshell, give me that. What is that?
It's a simple educational system that integrates critical thinking, cognitive psychology, and theology in a way that can make Muslims think outside the box, think in a peaceful way, starting to change the whole process of thinking, because we cannot change the religious text, but we can change the minds that interpret this text.
Wow. Dr. Hamid, you are asking things and challenging ideas that could get you killed.
Yes.
Aren't you scared of dying?
No. And I have been asked this question before, and my answer is simply, I will die one day. No way, I will die one day. And there are two possibilities. Either to die as a coward who refused to stand against evil, or as a brave man who stood against it. And I chose the latter option.
Dr. Hamid, it is an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You're an incredible person.
My pleasure.
For more information on Dr. Hamid, visit his website at tawfikhamid.com. Coming up next, we talk one-on-one with Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, when P3 returns.